And joining us today, Steve King, Metro Shooting Supplies. We are so happy to have you. I know we're going to cover a lot of things with you today. One of those being, because I know people don't know this, there is a ban on pistol braces. And for anyone who doesn't know what a pistol brace is, it steadies the gun on your arm. And I have no idea why they would have a ban on that. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Can you shed some light on this?
Well, it's kind of confusing to most people who aren't into the gun industry, but a pistol brace was designed by a veteran for veterans who were wounded in the war who couldn't hold a rifle up on or a pistol with one hand. So this was a stabilizing brace when it first came out, and it was designed for AR pistols and AK-47 pistols. So basically, it's a plastic piece that had elastic band or a Velcro band around it, and it would wrap around the forearm, and it would give somebody who had one arm or limited use of the other arm a stability platform to shoot their firearm. What happened over time was many companies came out and made facsimiles of that brace, and we started getting all kinds of different types of stabilizing braces, and then people weren't using them as the intended reason, and that was for stabilizing the AR pistol. So what they were doing was they were shouldering their pistol, and that's against the law. So there were many articles about how people could circumvent the short-barreled rifle law by putting a pistol brace on their AR pistol and then shouldering it and shooting it as a short-barreled rifle. That brought a lot of attention to the ATF. There was many videos on YouTube and various platforms that showed people how to illegally hold this firearm. So eventually ATF, I guess they got tired of having people, thumb their nose at them, and they came up with the ruling that said, look, this is a pistol brace designed to help people with disabilities. It's not to use it as a short-barreled rifle. It is illegal to shoulder a handgun.
Right.
So they now have made them illegal, and now it's through the court system on what to do. But there's 40 million braces out there. So what do? Do you go back and go after 40 million people?
Wow.
Or do we try to work this thing out? So the key thing that I tell people, especially my customers that come in, many people don't know about this. They come in every single day, and they have this pistol brace on their AR pistol and this arm brace on their AR pistol, and many times they're shouldering it and they're using it illegally. But we need to let them know you need to take that arm brace, that pistol brace off of that pistol and put a smooth pistol tube on buffer tube on that AR pistol or AK pistol, or it's going to be a felony and you're going to get caught up, and it's going to be a big time for you to fight that in court.
It is a really big deal. I read that it could be a jail sentence of anywhere from 5 to 10 years. As you said, it's a felony, a $10,000 fine, sometimes more.
Yep.
I mean, for having something, and how many videos have we seen of, let's say, gangs? Because, the majority of deaths in this country, let's just face it, come from gang-related deaths. Most of the shootings in this country are crime-related criminals, right?
Yep.
How many criminals do you see with a pistol brace?
Most of them. That's a weapon of choice for a lot of these people that are using them illegally. And the reason being is there's a lot of rounds.
Are they going to listen to the law?
No, there's a lot of rounds. It's a high-powered firearm. The velocity is 5 to 10 times greater than the largest handgun that you could shoot. So when people argue, is my 9mm is strong? Is it good enough, or do I need my 45 ACP? That argument is moot when it comes to an AR-15. An AR-15 is 5 to 10 times more powerful than any handgun. So that's why they're choosing those weapons.
Sure.
There's 30 rounds, 100-round magazine.
Absolutely so.
And they're putting these on there, but they want them as small as they can get them. And when they're putting those pistol braces on, they're not shooting them with it wrapped around their forearm and using it as it was intended. They're shouldering it and using them illegally.
Well, of course they are. And I think we all know, in my biggest problem with any type of gun legislation, who does it target? They say, well, it's going to cut down on shootings. It's going to cut down on shooting deaths. It doesn't, does it?
No, it does not.
Nothing does. Gun legislation, the only people it affects are law-abiding citizens. Because, and I know I could argue this and everyone's heard I know I'm preaching to the choir, but we know that you as a law-abiding citizen, me as a law-abiding citizen, we're going to obey the law, aren't we?
Yeah.
If they tell us we can't use a gun brace, guess what? We're not going to use one, right?
Correct.
But the people actually committing the crimes,
They don't care.
They don't care. They
No.
don't care.
There are 20,000 local, state, federal laws that regulate firearms industry. There's over 20,000 of them. And if you ask any person, name me one law that you could make right now that would stop gun crime, they couldn't come up with it. And if they said something, we could go back and say, that's already illegal.
Exactly.
So
That's
most
exactly right.
Yes.
most people would say, well, murder is against the law. Well, that's already illegal. We need to have, if you use a gun in a crime, you need to go to mandatory prison. It's already a crime.
Right.
We can't use firearms in lieu of a crime. It's already illegal to do all those things. Attempted murder, kidnapping, all these are against the law, and people that are criminals are still going to do them anyway.
They are going to do it anyway. And the way I feel in this country where we stand right now, if we were a country where there were no guns out there, I might have a different viewpoint on this. But being the fact that guns are coming across our border, people are criminals, they're going to have a gun regardless of the law. It is too late in this country for gun legislation. It's too late. We have passed that point a long time ago.
I think that I don't want to disagree with you, but I think we need to have legislation. I do believe that as a law-abiding citizen, as a country that has norms and mores and laws, we're a civilized society.
But we already have those laws.
We have those laws.
We have those
we need
laws.
to enforce those
We
laws.
need to enforce the laws we have, but we don't need more gun legislation.
Yeah.
In my opinion, we don't need more. You know what we need? We need more guns.
We need more police.
And we need more police.
Yes,
we need
do.
people
Both
to
of those things.
prosecute criminals to the fullest extent.
Correct.
And we need to have a punishment that bites into the crime. When I was a kid, I was afraid that, the death chamber was always something that was, my grandmother would threaten me with. If I hit my brother, she said, hey, the gas chamber's waiting for you.
Yes.
And it made you think
remember that.
about what you're doing. Now there's no deterrent. People say, okay, I'm going to go to county jail for a couple of months. Big deal. I'm going to go to prison for a year or two. Big deal. They're going to come out. They're going to have creds. They're going to go to their street gang. They're going to get, more influence in their street gang. They're going to go out and get more jobs to do. Things don't happen the way we as a law-abiding citizens feel. I mean, look, I own a gun shop. I own 2 of them. And I sell guns all the time. And I sell guns legally to all these people that walk in the door. And they have to fill out paperwork to buy this firearm.
Right.
And I hear firearm shooting, I hear gunshots every night. I hear, I watch the news like you do.
Right.
I want gun laws to be in place for those people who violate gun laws. Sometimes I'm in the minority when it comes to my colleagues, but I believe that we should have right and wrong. But we need to enforce it and make it fair for everybody. Or if we're not going to do that, just give everyone firearms and let us fight it out like we did in the Old West.
Don't you think that we're at that point now? Because we are not in a system right now, especially with Biden in the White House or allegedly in the White House. We're not in a place right now where we can enforce those laws. It is already like the Wild West.
Well,
it already is.
Unfortunately, we're allowing a political party that's in this country
to
take our right and give them to the people who don't deserve the rights. And what I'm saying with that is when you take a law-abiding citizen's rights and put them as the victim, as the bad guy, and you make the criminal a martyr, and you say, well, we don't need to have cash bonds. We don't need to have prison sentences. We don't need to have minor crimes as prosecutable. Trespassing and loitering and breaking and entering and assault, that shouldn't be prosecuted. Look at these major cities that out in West, Seattle and everything, where these people are they're squatting on these folks' yards and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
And eventually it leads to bigger crimes because if you give a criminal an inch, they take a mile. If you allow them to sleep on your backyard, now they're going to throw their trash in your backyard. Now they're going to do their drugs in your backyard. Now they're going to bring their partners in their backyard. Now you have a big community starting to develop in your yard with nefarious activity, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that needs to stop.
It absolutely needs to stop. And that's the biggest concern for me is we hear the stories, let's say, just as an example, St. Louis City. St. Louis City, it's one of many places in this country where police are completely overwhelmed. 911 centers, completely overwhelmed. There are times here in the city of St. Louis, and I know around the country, a perfect example, I've used it before. There was a woman in South St. Louis, 3:00 in the morning, somebody's breaking into her home. She calls 911, no one answers. Hangs up, calls 911 again. Took, 45 minutes for 911 to answer. They finally answer, because of course they're short staffed. They answer, and then she says, somebody's messing with my door. They're trying to get in. They're going to get in any second. I've been calling. Send somebody out right away. And they said, well, we will send someone out, but it could be over an hour. The police never arrived.
Right.
That was right here in St. Louis City. Never arrived. And thank God, whoever was trying to get in her door didn't get in. But we have to be the sheriff of our own home, don't we?
Absolutely. As a former policeman, I have to tell you, there's a triage of calls you get, and they're going to put them in priority. So if there's a car accident with injury, injury, you're going to go to that. If there's a prowler, you're going to, bring that in next. There's going to be a list of the priority of which you go. Generally speaking, I have a lot of friends down in St. Louis City.
Yes.
A lot of customers come in.
Yes.
And we see that all of the time where these guys come and say, we're so overworked that every call is an emergency. Every
Yes.
call is life-threatening.
Everything is life-threatening.
And we can't get to it.
Right, correct.
I own a security company outside of the show here, and I have nothing but respect for law enforcement.
Me too.
And,
Me too.
And it's not just in St. Louis City, but police officers, they're overworked, underpaid, benefits aren't even what they should be. Or what's the last time the police department in St. Louis City even had a raise? Many municipalities around the area, they lost over nearly 250 officers, was it just last year?
Last year.
And these women are getting shot at almost every day.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about that. And these are the people who we have to count on to protect us.
It's a cultural issue. People, especially these, I want to say, Democratic leaders in these cities, major cities, they are defunding and cutting back on the police training.
Yes.
I look at police as, my brothers, but they are people are risking their life every single day.
Yes.
And people don't realize this. And every time they do something, they're scrutinized with everything they do. And the fact that they don't get to fight back and get to be on TV or the radio and talk about their life story.
Because they don't have a right to a First Amendment speech.
They don't. They don't even have a platform where they can air their grievances.
Yes.
And the problem is that they want to go home at night, just like you and I do.
Yes.
And when they come to the job, they don't know what the next call is going to be.
Correct.
It can be a cat stuck in a tree, or it can be a guy that just killed 3 kids and the mom in a house because, the ex-boyfriend or something. We don't know what the next call is going to be coming across the radio, but we have to be prepared to go to every single one of those calls and be a social worker, be a doctor, be a paramedic, be problem solver, be a marksman, be an executioner at some point. And people like to go back and critique their every move, but they don't put themselves in their shoes. And that officer many, many times has just seconds to make that decision.
Correct.
And that decision is stuck with him for the rest of his life.
Yes.
And many times we've seen all of the big cases in the last 3 or 4 years that have made the news and changed things throughout our country. But in every one of those incidences, if you break it down to the very simple thing, there's a bad guy doing something wrong, and the law enforcement officer was called to that scene because of him.
Absolutely.
And handled the situation, and it got out of hand
Yes.
or whatever happened. I don't want to pick sides. I'm just saying that it was done and dealt with case by case.
Correct.
The policeman never just showed up out of the clear blue sky and said, hey, I just want to go kill somebody today.
Right.
Absolutely.
That doesn't happen. Every person needs to realize that every one of these people, those officers never thought before that call, I can't wait to go kill somebody today.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
They got a call. There was a heinous crime. There was somebody doing something bad. They went to stop that crime, and the results didn't pan out the way the bad guy would have liked.
Every case that I can think of, and I probably look at most of them, every case that I can think of with an officer-involved shooting always comes down to resisting arrest. Every single time.
Or the bad guy
Resisting
shooting at the
arrest.
policeman. Yeah, I mean,
Or exactly that. It's never a case where you see an innocent person walking down the street and the police stop and just shoot them.
Right.
I mean, when does
Right.
that ever happen?
Well, and it was years ago. My father, my uncle, and my grandfather all worked in St. Louis City Metropolitan Police. They walked around with a billy club. They didn't even have a gun, but they would pull their gun, but only in domestic situations. They said those were the scariest. Now, they could never walk around in any major city in the United States with just that, thinking that's what they're going to go and do. Times have changed drastically in the last 30 years.
And one word with that would be respect.
Exactly.
When people saw the street cop walking
Yes.
down the street with his nightstick, there's all kinds of Bugs Bunny cartoons and everything that we've parodied throughout the years, but it was always an Irish policeman, and he'd come in and tell the kids to stop fighting or go home. It's past curfew, whatever the case was. But that beat cop knew his territory.
They
Yes.
did.
He knew his neighborhood. He knew who belonged there and who didn't belong there.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, when we started getting technology and we started advancing that policeman's role, we started getting walkie-talkies. I remember when I first became a policeman, we had just gotten walkie-talkies. I mean, it's amazing to think in the 80s, we're just now getting walkie-talkies that were small enough to carry.
Yes.
If you watch movies or TV shows like Adam 12, himself. Their walkie-talkies are
they're
3 feet
huge.
long, and they don't even have him to walk in. The technology that we had now with the road cop, the guy in the police car, he still has his district, he still has his territory, and he still knows the riffraff and the good people, and he knows who belongs there and who doesn't belong there.
Correct.
But all of a sudden, we get these civil rights people who want to press the envelope by saying, hey, now you're profiling people.
Right.
Wait a
right.
minute. Yeah, because these people don't belong in your neighborhood, you're stopping them and asking them why they're there.
That's called good police work, isn't it?
That is
Very
called
good police work.
investigative.
Or let's go talk to your mom about this. They can't do
Exactly.
that anymore.
No, we can't do anything. It's almost as if this scenario, the pendulum has switched to now we don't have investigative tools anymore.
Correct.
You just have to go back and write a report because we're not investigating, and we're always investigators now. We're not preemptive policemen anymore.
Right.
We're
No.
not patrolling. We're not stopping crime.
Right.
All we're doing now is reacting to crime and writing police reports. And that's the
Yes.
problem.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It's
You
a
can't
big
be
difference.
proactive
No.
now.
You can't be brought. You show up and you pick up the pieces.
Yeah.
Once
Correct.
something has already occurred. I'm a big fan of stop and frisk, the Terry stop. I really do believe that if we went back to the Terry stop and we went back to the stopping and frisking, I think we would cut down crime drastically, specifically illegal guns on the streets. But you can't do that because now all of a sudden it's racist.
Right.
And your right as somebody walking down the street is more important than my right to feel safe.
Absolutely. And when I was a policeman, we had things called FIRS, field interview reports. And if you saw somebody who is loitering around a gas station late at night that's closed, or a business, a warehouse or something, and they're just loitering around, or they're, parked in a car, casing the place out or something, we were able to go up and get their ID and write this field interview report. And that would go into a database, and we would have an idea that if something would happen down the road, let's say 2 weeks down the road, that warehouse gets broken into, but 3 times this guy, the same guy, was field interviewed on the parking lot, then he's probably a pretty good suspect. Not saying that he did it and should be convicted of it. I'm saying he is a suspect because we were able to point him and place him at that warehouse after hours when he shouldn't have been there. And then all of a sudden it got broken into. Or if they're walking down the street and you have 3 or 4 kids walking down the street and you stop them and you write their names, and then all of a sudden one of them is found dead in a park 2 blocks away. Now you know who the other people were that were with him. And you can go question them and start your investigation of what happened to this kid. And nowadays it is so racially motivated or racially divided. Even if the race doesn't play a part in it whatsoever, they make it an issue
Yes.
Right.
to say that because they can take numbers and just skew them any way you want.
That's exactly right. And I ask this often. I have so many friends that are police officers. And I always say, I know these police officers. I know they are not racially profiling. I know they are not racist in their hearts by any means. I know they're just trying to do a good job in protecting their community. And I have asked them before, does it affect how you police? Because now all of a sudden you hear a report that, you're looking for, let's say, a black guy or a Hispanic guy, let's say on a bicycle in a blue hoodie. And are you nervous about asking this person? Because then all of a sudden they're going to call you a racist. They're going to say you're racially profiling when you're not. Do you think it affects how police officers patrol?
Absolutely. And to even take that point further, when I wrote a police report back in the day, you started with a pedigree and you
Yes.
indented, and you would say that John Doe, white male, age 25, 6 foot tall, brown hair, brown eyes, 180 pounds. And you would give a full description, where he worked,
Yeah.
everything that you could get.
The most important part is the description.
21 parts of
Exactly.
the pedigree, right?
Yes.
Well, now if you watch any newscast anywhere out there and they say this crime happened, it's a male, 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, wearing dark clothes. They don't give race. They don't give sex, or they'll give sex. They'll say male. They make it as broad as can be so that you don't go and pick up the first black guy you see, 6'1", wearing a blue or dark clothes in that area. And the media is saying, we don't want to skew your process. We want you to have an objective reason for stopping that person.
Now, isn't that the craziest thing you've ever heard?
It's absolutely crazy.
The
How many people do you
craziest
know that are
thing.
6 foot tall, 180 pounds, wearing dark clothes, walking around?
Right.
That is
Correct.
the craziest thing I've
It
ever
is.
heard.
Let's
And
narrow it down and get the right guy.
That's
Yes.
exactly right. It makes our communities less safe. We're so worried about offending people and being racist that people people are less safe in our communities.
Yes.
Correct.
It really worries me. That's part of my thoughts when it comes to weapons. I truly do believe that every American has the right to not only own a weapon, but they have the right to carry it with them. I think that in this day and time, it's not enough to just have a weapon at your home because your person is in danger in so many different situations.
I agree with you
Correct.
100%.
Correct.
I think we should follow what Austin's doing. Austin, Texas. They allow conceal and carry. Everybody's got a weapon down there, and they're talking about how their crime is down because criminals don't know who they can rob because everybody's armed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
exactly.
agree with that. I totally agree with
What do you
that.
think about that, Steve?
So I think that it's absolutely correct. I do
Yes.
believe that open carry is a wrong thing to do. And I know that you're going to get all kinds of people commenting on me being against open carry, but open carry is nothing but rubbing salt into the wound of the anti-gun people. And hear me out. If you were trying to convince somebody who is borderline about people allowed to carry guns, do you want to rub it in their face by having one on your hip or carrying a rifle in your hand and going, ha, 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 this is my right, I get to do it? They're going to resent you for that. They're going to pull away. Their views are going to be negative towards the gun community. However, if we have concealed carry and they don't know you're carrying a gun, and we're talking, the three of us are talking, and you don't know I have a firearm on me right now, you're not going to be alarmed. You're not going to have an opinion one way or the other about whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy because you don't know.
Right.
But if I'm walking around cocky and saying, hey, here's my gun, you can't stop me, and it's my right, that's just sending the wrong message.
Well, you're also playing a rock, paper, scissors.
Correct.
Because guess
Yes.
what? A lot of the people out there who want to cause you harm, they have a bigger weapon than you do. They have something that is concealed that you don't see. I personally think it's better to conceal.
Absolutely.
Because I think it's better to keep people guessing because when they see that weapon on your hip or they see that you're carrying, they know what you're carrying.
And you're the first target.
Correct. Yes.
That's right.
You're the first
That's exactly. You're the first target. And I agree with that, rubbing salt in the wound. There's too many people these days that are so polarized by what they hear in the media that as soon as they see you, they do get, I hate to keep using the word, but they get all triggered and it doesn't help the situation.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Even though it doesn't sound fair, I don't disagree with you on that.
And you know,
point.
with the art of negotiation, everybody knows if they're in business or just in social realms, rings and circles, negotiations plays the biggest part in our world, right?
Correct.
We are here to get along with each other. So if I want to get along with the most people, I'm not going to try to rub them the wrong way. And by flaunting or taunting them with this firearm on my side, that is just pushing them away. It's like a magnet. Whereas if I could take them to a range, teach them how to shoot, show them how to handle this firearm, they're going to be much more receptive to it. And then when they know that I have one in my pocket, then they're going to say, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that this was a part of the gun community. But these guys that are flaunting them and walking around and just in your face and taunting police with them and doing all these things, you see all these videos and these cops come up to the guys on the street and then they're like, what are you doing there? I'm walking down the street with my gun in my hand. It's my constitutional right. I can do that. Yeah, great, pal. But you're also disturbing the peace of all these people that are calling me, right? They're
Right.
calling the police. They're scared. There's a guy walking down the street with a rifle in his hand.
Right.
You don't know
right.
he's demonstrating his constitutional rights or if he's going to be a sniper and start shooting people on the freeway.
Right.
We don't know. So let's err on the side of caution and let's just keep it and be civil about it.
And I don't disagree with you. I think that people have the right to open carry. Absolutely. Constitutionally, they do.
They do.
But at the same time, I think it serves a better purpose to conceal because, think about you're in the grocery store. A shooter comes in. Who do you think he's taking out first?
The guy with
The guy with the gun.
Gun.
And then what if you're the only one with a gun? Then there's
Right.
no one else left to protect the people. Right? I really do think you make yourself a target. I've heard instances of people walking down the street. As a matter of fact, this happened in southern Missouri who was open carrying. Guess what? Somebody drove down the street and shot him, because you just said they don't know what he's doing and they don't know if it's a threat. Is it not a threat? And then you have your home. There was a time in my life when I was absolutely against weapons, absolutely against them. I thought if you had a weapon in your home, your kids were going to shoot themselves or you're going to have an accident or the bad guy is going to get the gun away from you and shoot you with it. And then my brain, I don't know I think my brain didn't work back then. Now I think every person needs to have a weapon in their home because you have to be able to protect yourself and your family.
Right. And
no one else is going to do it.
And your point just a minute ago with the guy driving down and shooting the person with a gun, in the state of Missouri, all you have to do is say, I was in fear of my life.
Absolutely so.
Nobody can get into your head. Nobody can prove you otherwise. And if you say I was in fear of my life, it's a justified shooting. Now, if you don't have criminal charges brought against you, there's no civil charges brought against you. So Missouri has written a lot of laws to protect people using their firearm. I would also add to the fact that there was a story several years back where a guy was really proud of walking around with his little P22 22 caliber pistol on his side, and he was walking, I think it was in Oregon somewhere, maybe, I don't remember, but they were walking down the street about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and he and his buddy are walking down the street, and this homeless guy was sitting against the curb, and he said, "Hey buddy, is that a Walther P22?" And he goes, yeah, it is. He goes, "You want to see it?" He goes, "Man, I love that. That's my favorite gun. Can I see it?" And he goes, "Sure." And he handed him his gun, and the homeless guy robbed him and his buddy, made them take off their clothes, made them take off their watches, their cell phones, give them their money, and then made them run down the street naked. And he just took what he wanted and just laughed and walked away because he had his gun.
Right,
But this
right.
kid was so stupid and naive that he showed this guy, because he was a gun enthusiast, and thought, oh, another gun enthusiast. And he gave him his loaded gun. And that's how sometimes people don't think in the situation.
They don't think. And that's where you have to educate your children. I know I was like Tabitha, was a family that we didn't want to have guns. Same reason, until we felt threatened by someone. Then we took our children, trained all of them, bought them all a gun for Christmas so they can handle themselves now. But it took a little bit to even train our kids, because our oldest said, was talking about profiling. He kept getting pulled over and he kept saying, "Mom, the police are profiling me." And I said, "I'm so glad they are, son. Of course they're going to profile a 16-year-old idiot that drives 20 miles over the speed limit every single day. And you're not a good driver yet. It's one thing if you're 40 and you're driving over the speed limit, but when you're 16, you're an idiot behind a killing machine."
Yet they're profiling.
Correct. And I said, good. I hope they are profiling you,
exactly.
son. And and he wouldn't dare speed now. He's actually like a grandpa. He's 31 and he doesn't speed.
Well, so we've been talking about this for the last 15 minutes or so, but the key thing about firearms is training.
Yes.
Okay. We've talked about protecting ourselves, having a firearm in the home, getting a concealed carry license. In the state of Missouri, we have permitless carry. So you don't have to have a concealed carry permit to do that. However, I would recommend anybody and everybody that is over the age of 21 to go in and get their concealed carry permit. The reason I'm saying that is you don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
Correct.
And there are many, many laws out here that will trip you up and get you in trouble if you just simply strap that gun on and carry it and not know what you're doing with. Secondly, if you have a concealed carry permit in your wallet and you get pulled over by the police for speeding and they see that you have this permit, many times they know that you're a good citizen because you went through the training, you took the time, you spent the money, you did the practice, and you went and got this training. Not only that, but our permit in the state of Missouri is good in 38 other states. So if you want to carry in other states other than Illinois, that's a whole nother story. But if you want to carry in other states, our permit is very good and receptive in so many other places. But you have to get the concealed carry permit to use it in the other states.
And I am all for that.
I am too.
I think that this is going to also rub people the wrong way, maybe, of your viewers, but I believe that everyone should have mandatory firearms training.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And it should be from a certified instructor, not grandpa. I mean, my grandpa taught me how to shoot at 4 years old.
Yes.
But that didn't give me any credentials to go do anything except for shoot tin cans, right?
Right.
But I think that every single person in this country should have to have some kind of formal training by somebody, just so that they can say, if they had an accident or something happened, look, I'm not maliciously doing anything. I've gone to training. I've taken this class. I practice safe gun handling. I practice safe gun storage. I do things exactly the way I should do as a responsible gun owner. I'm not letting my 3-year-old carry the gun and shoot somebody. I'm not letting, this happen. And just on the news yesterday, a kid shot his mother through the wall, 3-year-old kid, and shot his mother through the wall. How many times has this happened?
A lot.
All too often. And I realize here in the state of Missouri, you don't need a concealed carry permit to conceal and carry. However, I think that the training you receive is invaluable.
It is.
And I will bet you that every person that takes that class learns something that they didn't already know.
Absolutely. We do our classes still monthly, and we're giving a 10% coupon off through the show here to do our class. Our next class is July 22nd for anybody who's interested. But we'd like to encourage them to sign up for the class, come in, learn the laws, know what they can and cannot do, where they can and cannot carry. A lot of people think they just put the gun on and just shoot whoever they see. But we put real life scenarios in our class. We teach people two main things. Never use your firearm unless you're defending yourself or a loved one. Unless you're saving the life of someone who shares your bloodline or your last name. You don't pull your gun out and get involved because you don't know the circumstances that's happening.
That's right.
There are many, many stories where people have gotten involved as a good Samaritan and been in the wrong.
That's
and they've shot the innocent person.
The wrong person.
Yes.
Because they did not see the incident happen from beginning to end. And one of our scenarios is a guy is beating beating the crap out of a guy with a baseball bat, and he's just on the verge of killing him, and he's like 3 blows away from killing him, and you have a concealed carry gun. We say, what would you do? And people would say, I'd pull my gun out and say, stop. And so the guy says, okay, well, I'm not going to stop. Hit. He's 1 more blow away from dying. What are you going to do? And they always say, I'd shoot. Well, that's not necessarily the case. What if that guy had just raped your 3-year-old daughter?
Right.
Right. You don't know the circumstances.
You don't know the circumstances.
You never know. And I've never even thought about that before, but you're so right. You cannot get involved in every incident you see. And not only that, but you know what? I always try to tell people, if you're going to have a weapon, you have to be ready to use it. Because if you're not ready to use it, they are going to use it against you.
That's right. I mean, just because you pull your firearm doesn't mean you have to use it. The average gunfight in a self-defense situation is 2.2 gunshots. It happens within 3 feet of each other, and it's over, in a split second.
Yes.
So it's not like you're shooting, these guys come in and want these drum magazines and 33 round mags.
Yeah.
You're not going to Iraq. You're driving.
Well, I don't know about that, Steve.
You're going to get gas at the gas station. I mean, your
Right.
handgun is designed to get you out of an immediate situation. Your handgun is designed to stop the threat right there.
Yes.
Just enough to get you back to your long gun to shoot. If we knew that there was going to be a gunfight right down the street here at the gas station at 3:00 today, we're not going to show up, right? We're just going to avoid the situation. We're not going to even be there. But if we did have to go there at 3:00 for whatever reason, we wouldn't be taking handguns.
That's
We'd be
right.
taking
Right.
long guns, shotguns, rifles, whatever. We'd be going down with more firepower because
We
that's
would.
how you win gunfights. But our handgun situation, our self-defense situation is generally by surprise. It's very fast, very dangerous, very furious, and it's over in seconds. So you have to be prepared mentally and psychologically and emotionally to use your firearm if you need to do that. And a lot of people, they get into that response where they believe this isn't happening to me. This
Right.
can't be happening to me. I am not getting robbed right now. I am not getting mugged right now. This isn't happening to me. And they freeze and they can't do anything about it. So every time, whenever I say goodbye to somebody, I always say, be safe or be careful. The thing is, I want people to know that they need to follow their intuition, their instinct, and also know their surroundings everywhere they go.
Yes.
When you go to a restaurant, know your exit strategy to get out of that restaurant. If you go to an event, know the exits, know how you're going to get
the
out
first
if
thing I
something
do.
happens.
Yes.
You'd have to know how to get your family and get
That's
them to
right.
a safe place. And you do that every time you go. When you go to the gas station, look in the last 2 months.
Yes.
There's been 8 or 9 people robbed at the gas stations.
Mhm.
Stop getting your wallet out of your purse and leaving it in the driver's seat
Right.
with the
Right.
keys in the
right.
car.
Right.
Stop. Get out, lock the door, take the fob, put it in your pocket, and pump your gas, and then get back into your car.
Correct.
Watch your surroundings. Look while you're pumping gas. Get
Be
off your damn
observant.
phone.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
people are just in that phone all the time
More-
and they don't know anything around them?
More
Right.
people are carjacked and robbed because they are sitting in their cell phone. I always say, when you park your car, whatever it is you're doing, be ready to get out of your car and go.
Know how you park. Back into a spot.
Yes.
Right? You're faster driving forward than you are backing out. Back into a spot. Know who's on each side of you. Know how close the vehicles are to you. Know who's in front of you. Know your situation. Before you get out of the car, look and see, is there somebody standing behind my car? Is there somebody standing next to a car or 2 cars over just watching me?
Right.
Get your head out of your phone
Yes.
and look and do a 360.
Mhm.
Get out, look to see where your car's parked. Is there a light by my car? Is there a sign by my car? Don't come out of a store or at night or in a storm and you're walking out and you're running to find out where your car is and you go, I can't remember where I parked my car. I don't know if it's down this aisle or this aisle. And now your tunnel
Then you're-
vision,
Yeah, then you're a victim.
your tunnel vision is
Right.
focusing on your vehicle
Correct.
instead of your surroundings. And now you are opening yourself up to
It's-
be a victim.
And is it true that women, I've been told that also when you come up to your car, you should always look in the back seat, even if you've locked the car, and look under, because men, especially if it's women and we look weaker, they could be waiting, and as soon as you pull out or open the door, they hop in.
You need to look under your car as you're walking to the car.
Mhm.
You can see that little distance under your car
Yes.
as you're approaching it. Always scan your vehicle to see if there's trash under your car, see if there's bottles behind your tires, see if there's nails or foreign objects behind your tires. So
Mhm.
when you back out or something, you run over them and get a flat down the road.
Right.
Look and see how many people are standing standing in the proximity of your
Mhm.
car, and what are they doing as they're standing? If there's another lady 2 cars over loading her groceries in your car, you're
Right.
probably okay.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean you are. Watch to see who's with her. Is there somebody just standing there scoping it out and she's the decoy for you to get up there and get
It
kidnapped?
happens so fast. We've all seen those videos
Yep.
where you'll see, somebody who's missing, who's later
Yes.
found dead. And guess what happens? They'll show them in the parking lot, let's say of a grocery store. And this person, they've loaded their groceries, let's say into their trunk. They're going to get into the driver's seat. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, someone comes up behind them and pushes them into the car,
Yes.
jumps into the driver's seat,
And
and
drives
then
off.
you'll never
Drives
see them
off.
again.
Exactly.
And you know what? This person comes out of nowhere. I always tell people, and I know a lot of this could be my security training, be observant. It is your number one defense, is to be observant.
Far more than a firearm, far more than anything else, you need to use your body to watch, hear, smell, watch what's going on. You're going to be a witness. You're going to have to report this. You're going to remember, hey, that car wasn't this close to mine when I got out of it, and it's still here, but it's closer. Or they turned it around and backed up to my car. And just look at things and how your situation changes and be aware of the situation that changes. Don't say, oh, I must be going crazy or something. You think about it. If you're afraid to walk to your car, don't walk to your car. If you get that gut feeling that, hey, there's something not right, stop.
Absolutely.
Get somebody, get some help. Most of these grocery stores and Walmarts and everything, they all have security guards now. They have to.
Correct.
Now, those guys probably aren't armed all the time, and they're probably not the best people, but they're a witness, if nothing else.
Correct.
And get them to go to your car. Have them walk with you. Have
Yes.
them watch you put your groceries in. Do things to let other people get involved. The more people you can get involved, the less chances you are of being a victim yourself.
And pay attention to the people around you.
Yes.
Yes.
I myself, something nefarious almost happened to me several years ago. I'm a very observant person, thankfully, but I was with a friend. I pulled up to a bar. This was many, many years ago. And I saw that there was a car that pulled in behind us. We walked in. I saw a guy come in, sat all the way on one end of the bar. And then a few minutes later, another guy came in and sat all the way at the other end of the bar. And it was only her and I in the middle. And those guys kept looking at each other. It was really, and I noticed they were looking, my friend didn't have the faintest clue what was going on. I'm like, why are these guys keep looking at each other? And then so I pretended to get up and walk out the door. And I saw the guys kind of give each other like this weird nod. And then my friend came out to see what was going on. And those guys got up and followed us out. And this was back in the old days, because I'm really old, Steve, when they had payphones. So I pretended like I was on the payphone calling the police. And these guys, I have no doubt in my mind, they would have done something to us. They went out the door and they waited on either side of the door for us to come out. And thankfully, the bartender was just as observant and came out behind us and said, there's something going on here. What it was, I don't know. But think how often that happens to people, and people are completely oblivious to the fact that they were being followed or that someone was watching them.
I can tell you that in my personal life as a civilian prior to being a policeman, I think the statute of limitations are over now. No, I'm kidding. I carried a gun prior to the guns being illegal. We've only had concealed carry in Missouri since 2004. I carried a gun my entire life because I worked downtown and I was in bad neighborhoods. I was in a lot of places, but I can tell you that in my life alone, I stopped more crime as a civilian between the ages of 18 years old and 21 with my firearm in stupid places that I shouldn't have done or shouldn't have been there. And I'm not saying people should do this. I'm just telling you that I had this sense of I had to do it, and it happened. And I stopped these crimes, and I know that they would have been deadly crimes had that, abduction, a kid abduction. I stopped that one time at a Kroger store. I stopped kidnapping down in St. Louis City at a baseball game. After a Cardinals game, I worked at Busch Stadium as an usher. And
with your weapon?
I didn't have it on me. No, it was in my car.
I won't tell Bill DeWitt.
But I was able to. He didn't own it at the time. But I was able to get to my car and retrieve my firearm and stop this kidnapping in time.
That is great.
But it was all these things that happened that had I not been there and did not have a firearm, did not have the gumption and the peace of mind to stop it.
And the confidence, which is what you learn taking these classes.
Yes, and having the confidence is really great, and situational awareness. And I hate being sexist, but if you're a woman, you're more targeted. You just are.
I think so. You have more things in your head. You have kids, you have,
And we're not physically as strong, too, if we would get out and about. And you're right. We have a lot of spaghetti brain where we're thinking about a lot of things. But I know when you're driving down and you have the feeling that someone is following you or whatever, you can call ahead to the police department, too, and say, hey, I'm not going to stop, but I'm going to end up at your police station. And if you can get the license plate.
Right.
And I did that once in O'Fallon, Missouri, which is in the middle of the state, obviously. And they looked his plate up before I ever got to the police station. Of course, he didn't follow me in, but they were waiting at the end of their driveway and caught him. And sure enough, he was a convicted pedophile and he was wanted. So, I mean, sometimes you can stop that way too.
Absolutely. And I encourage people to do this. There's so many times that, we have cell phones that we can use. So use them properly. Stop looking at the mail, your emails as you're driving, and use them to call the police to do whatever you need to do. The thing is that we need to be proactive. The law enforcement community isn't large enough to protect us 24/7. They can't do it.
They would love to, but you're right, but they cannot.
They could. And we as civilians have to take it upon ourselves to be a little bit more proactive in stopping crime. Now, I am not telling anybody to be judge, jury, and executioner. I am not saying that. What I'm saying is, if there's somebody following and you feel scared about it, get their license plates, call it in, and then drive safely. Go to some place, a police department, a fire station, someplace that you can get help with. Don't let them follow you home. Never go home.
Never. And never allow somebody to force you into a car.
No.
You have to fight back. And if you're armed, obviously that gives you the upper edge.
Yes.
Especially if it's concealed and they're not expecting that fight to come from you. I know you're offering our listeners 10% off from your concealed carry classes.
Yep.
How do they receive that discount? How do they find you? I know your website, buylearnshoot.com.
Right.
And of course, we're talking to Steve King with Metro Shooting Supplies. And what I love about these classes is I think it teaches people the confidence, because otherwise you might be out there like, am I doing the right thing?
Right.
Do I know what I'm doing? Because you don't expect yourself to be caught in that situation. I really hope our listeners take advantage of that 10% discount and they contact you, they go on your website and sign up for these classes.
So I'm located on the Rock Road in Bridgeton. And like you said, our website is buylearnshoot.com. We're open 7 days a week. They can come in, practice. They can even take a private lesson if they'd like. We teach private lessons. They can come in, practice, then come in for the concealed carry class. The concealed carry class is not designed to teach you how to shoot. On the contrary, it's designed to teach you how not to shoot. We want you to be aware. We want you to know that the most important thing you're carrying on your body is your cell phone, a pen and paper. You're talking about fighting back. This pen has got a titanium point. I carry it everywhere I go. This will poke your eye out. This will go through the jugular. This will put a big hole in your arm. If I don't have a firearm to shoot you with, I can always take my pen out and ram it through your forearm. And I guarantee you'll let go of me after I do that. So we teach other alternatives other than just using your gun. The gun should be used as a last resort. The gun should be, I have no other option. I'm going to use this gun. Never pull your gun out because you're walking someplace and you go, okay, I think I'm scared. I'm going to pull my gun out. If you're not aware of your surrounding and they surprise you, that gun is going to be taken away from you.
Yes.
Very simply. They're going to
Right.
knock you down. It's going to fall out of your hand. Wait until you see your target. Draw the firearm. Never put your finger on the trigger until you are ready to shoot, and then you engage your target. And you shoot to stop threat. You never shoot to kill. We shoot to stop the threat. And that's what you're going to learn in these classes. But it is so important to take these classes. And we still offer them, even though the state says you don't have to have them. I encourage everyone to do that. And that's why I'm giving 10% off to the listeners, because it's important that they come in and learn what they can and cannot do. And then I promise you, they're going to leave saying, I didn't know that.
And there's no question about that. Is there an age limit? Because I really think I'm hoping that our listeners enroll their children.
Well, the problem with concealed carry in Missouri is you can get a concealed carry permit if you're 19 years old, but not through somebody who's regulated by the federal government.
Okay.
So you can get that through your uncle or an NRA licensed firearms instructor. You can do that. It's not through me because I'm federally regulated by the government, and the federal laws say you have to be 21 years old to have a firearm and to do these things. So in my classes, unfortunately, for concealed carry, you have to be 21 years old. Now, we do teach private lesson, and I've taught kids as low as 4 years old how to shoot firearms. They have to have an aptitude. They have to be safe about it. But I've had children come in 4 years old and know more about gun safety than a lot of adults.
And that is so important. And I really hope, and by children, I also mean adult children.
Yes.
I hope that our listeners give it as a birthday gift.
Right.
Whatever type of gift you want, have them take these concealed carry permits, because I'll tell you, like you said, classes, they will learn so much. And then I worry more about my son than I do myself. And I know he knows all about gun safety, but if he didn't, I would want him to take this class and learn and to be educated on the process. So I hope everyone reaches out. Again, that's buylearnshoot.com. How would someone go about getting their 10% discount?
They would come in and mention the show. I believe there's going to be a 10% coupon on your website.
Yes, there will be.
And they can download that, bring it in, and we'll give that to them. The thing about the concealed carry class, that is a gateway to future knowledge.
Yes, it is.
You know, we don't want people to stop training once they get their concealed carry permit. The laws change every year. So, you know, there's no mandate here. In Illinois, our customers in Illinois have to go through a refresher course every 3 years. In Missouri, once you have your concealed carry permit, it's good as long as you keep renewing it. But it's just a gateway. It allows you to get into it and then take further training. When you take our concealed carry class, we're going to tell you about force on force training. We have airsoft guns, and we have force on force. We have anti-carjacking training. We have low light with lights and lasers, so that if you are carrying a firearm with a light or a laser, we teach you how to use that and when to use it. A lot of people don't ever want to spend the money on a laser,
right?
But we have a little class that we take and we show you. We have two identical guns, one with a laser and one without a laser.
I am all for the laser.
And
Yes.
you put that out on the target, and then we have you shoot weak hand, strong hand,
Wow,
both hands.
Okay, love it.
That's
And
very
then-
comprehensive.
And
Yeah,
the key
that's great.
thing is the icing on the cake is we give you a pair of glass and they have Vaseline on them, simulating waking up in the middle of the night.
Oh.
And without a laser, you see a blob. With the laser, you see the red
Correct.
dot or the green dot right in the middle of that blob. And it sells lasers every single time because people see the difference.
The importance of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they justify, to me, my laser's a $300
worth-
life insurance policy.
Yeah,
that it is
absolutely.
well worth the money to have a laser.
Yeah, every one
Correct.
of my concealed carry guns or home defense guns have lasers on them. And it's just not because I need it, because I'm a very, very good shooter, but it's to let bad guys know, hey, there's a gun pointing at you. That little
Yes.
dot doesn't mean that we're playing with a cat. This is serious. So,
Right.
you know, they need to look at that and heed the warning.
No question about it. Well, Steve, I hope all of our listeners take advantage of that 10%. You have been absolutely wonderful
Thank you.
to come in and spend so much time with us. I could talk to you every day
I could too.
about all of
I
these
could too.
things. And, you know, I don't think we could ever get enough education
Education
when
is
it
the key.
comes to weapons and concealed carry permits and open carry. So reach out to Steve King at buylearnshoot.com. Do you have a phone number that
Yeah.
people can contact you?
It's 314-993-4867 or 993-GUNS.
Excellent. Take advantage of that 10% coupon. Steve King, thank you so much for joining
Thank you for
us.
having me.
And we'll be back right after this break.